First things first, gentlemen. How are you?
Very good. Yeah.
The sun is shining.
Sun is shining in Amsterdam. We're happy to be here.
Yeah.
Well, we're very happy to have you. So before we get into the music and everything else, I'd like to jump back to the beginning. So, Glover, the two of you have known each other for quite a while.
That's right.
What is one thing about Kav in terms of music that you've learned from him?
A lot. We have learned a lot from each other.
Okay.
Because we, as you said, we've known each other a long time. Since we were very small. We grew up together in the same place in Dublin, in Ireland. And I came from a classical music background, and you came from a sort of soul and
singing,
R&B singing background.
Okay.
So we really taught each other a lot, especially at the start. Now we're kind of both in the same sort of synergy and workflow, and we both know what each other wants, for Keywest. So, yeah.
I don't know what age this was, but what role did music play? Was it from the get-go a prominent thing in your friendship?
Yeah. It's prominent in our lives anyway.
How come?
Well, Glover is from a family. His father played guitar and sang, entertained, and Glover went to classical school for piano. And I was from a family of singers. Everybody sang, and it was always a thing. And I was part of a school of music then when I was a teenager. And when we were old enough, we decided to, join forces and go forward and build and do things. If somebody wasn't going to do something for us, we did it for ourselves.
Do you remember the first song that you wrote together?
I do.
Yeah.
Because it was over a particular girl.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why from that moment on, we started writing.
Yeah.
Do you remember the name of it?
I do.
Very good. That's weird.
I don't know if we're going to say it, but we both remember it.
We've written thousands of songs now, and the fact we both remember that first song.
And I can even
I
play
can even
the
sing it
chords.
to you, yeah.
Thank God there's no guitar here.
Yeah.
No, but the interesting thing is about those early songs. What did it do to you? What did it do to kind of your friendship? What did it allow you to do as you went on as musicians?
Songwriting is a learning curve, and knowing what way you want to write changes your approach as well. So, we didn't necessarily start out wanting to sound the way we sound now. The way we sound now came from, growth and just our road, the path that we ended up on. But writing songs is a great way to get to express yourself. It's a great way to help mental issues. I'm pretty mental, so it's good to be writing songs.
It's good that you can write and clear things. And,
So
we love the process of writing songs, and we always have. It never mattered what genre it was, or what it was for, or what the purpose was. Just writing a song is always a fun experience for us. We love it.
And obviously the creative side is one thing, but then on the kind of audience side, when did you realize that the music that you had written in your bedroom or wherever could connect with people?
On the streets, we performed a lot of songs as buskers in Ireland. That's how we grew, by street performance, and our songs grew in that way too, because some of our songs would really connect quickly with people, other songs wouldn't on the street, and because that's where we needed to survive, those are the types of songs we started to write more of. And then when it translated from the streets to the festivals, it was a perfect translation. It didn't have any bumps. The same energy on the street applies to a festival, and then applies to a live show. So we decided that's how we wanted to sound, and for us, if a song doesn't work on the street, it doesn't get finished. We don't put it on the stage.
With that in mind, then, how looking back now, how important were those years of playing on the streets, kind of figuring out what you wanted to do?
So important. Yeah, so important.
Yeah.
It makes you, as Kav said, it makes you understand what sound you want, makes you understand what Keywest is, you know, what it sounds like, what it needs to be. And it makes you, you know, really tight as a group of friends and as a group of musicians. There's 4 of us in the band, you know, and at this stage now we play really well together. I don't know how many hours we've put in together at this stage.
Yeah, if you apply the 10,000 hours rule to anything, then we've done 20,000. So that's what the streets.
So you've paid your dues.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
It makes you a much better musician. For me, it made me a much calmer frontman.
Well, that's an interesting point as well, because obviously playing on the streets, you deal with an audience that's quite different than in a venue. So what has that taught you as musicians, kind of how to interact with the crowd?
How to adapt, I guess, is what it mostly taught us, because the crowds change on the street, and over time you learn how to change your approach or your pitch, because you're on the street, you are basically selling music. So you figure out ways to do that, what songs work and how to talk. And translating it to the stage is just, it's about connecting with the room. And if you can get people to let go when they're in a room, you know, people are so concerned about being too loud next to somebody or being noticed nowadays. Everybody wants anonymity all the time. So if you can encourage people in the audience to just let go and get involved and get everybody involved, by the time the show is finished, the energy levels have really risen, and the whole communal energy kicks off, and everybody leaves bouncing, happy. And that's kind of the objective, get people to let go, and then you can really make a show sing.
Right. And I might be wrong, but was it your aim, in a sense, to first cultivate an audience in Ireland?
Yeah.
Was that kind of the game plan?
Yeah. We figure we can do that, then we can grow and build in other places online. It was great to have the opportunity to sign with Marshall and speed things up abroad outside of Ireland, and that's this tour was the first time we've really gone on the road in Europe, and it's been great. Very surprising to see so many people who've fallen in love with the band from seeing us on the street in the past, and all of that work is now paying off.
This might sound weird, but is it almost like starting over a little bit?
Yeah.
It is in a way, yeah.
Yeah. In Ireland, you go from being on the radio, being a known band, so it is like starting off, but starting off is really hard.
Yeah, it's not the real starting off. This is this is starting off from a certain platform, you know, which is
you already have your skills in the
skill sets, you know. Financially, it's different. The studio that we have now, starting off is so different. It's make or break when you start. So for most bands, 2-3 years is all you get before you make or break.
Well, that's an interesting point, because I've been interviewing a lot of people over the years, and one of the things that kind of pops up is how much work it actually entails. So that make or break moment, what was that for you? Was there such a moment?
Yeah, you have to learn how to live. If you eventually life takes over and money sinks a band. So to get around that, we worked extra hard on the streets, invested our money in equipment and studio time and all of those things, so that over time our costs got less and less, because we were doing so much at home in-house. And so it takes real belief that you can do that, because you just don't know when you start, can I produce an album that's as good as somebody who is a known producer? It takes a lot of time and effort and belief and trial and error.
Yeah.
This might be a difficult question to answer then, but where does that belief come from? What is the drive, so to say?
No, it's definitely just there. It's been there since day one. It hasn't really disappeared yet. So,
that's very good.
Yeah. We still love, as I said earlier, we still love writing songs. We still love putting an album together. Although this is a new experience for us, we are really enjoying traveling, playing our shows to new people, new venues. and all of those things make us happy. So that's the underlying passion, you know.
And one thing I find interesting about, and then kind of alluding to what you said, Kav, is this DIY mentality. And why is this so important for you, for as a band? Because I think, I'm guessing, but I think you've could have gone another route if you wanted to.
We could have. It was, you go the other route, it's there's an element of luck involved. You have to meet the right people, and it was just a question of chance. You know, we'd spent some time in LA and working with different people, and we realized this felt more solid. It took a little longer than we would have liked, but along the way, I'm kind of glad it took that long, because our identity as a band, musically speaking, could have taken a left turn had we have gone a bit earlier with a label. But now our identity is firmly in place. We're onto our third album, and it feels more. It's just easier now. The sound is solid. We understand the parameters that Keywest are and what we are, because, like you said, we can write songs. We like all genres. So when you're writing, if you want to make sure that the fans who like your music like your next album, and you want it to grow and build, then you're writing to express yourself, and also to fit the shape that people want you to fit.
No, that makes sense. You mentioned LA. Is that where Escape from the City of Angels comes from? That song?
Yeah. I didn't particularly like LA that much. It's a great city. I see the appeal to a lot of people. It's. I mean, I could live there, but at the time I wasn't really feeling it, and I wanted to get home and just get focused on music again. You know, because LA is it's a tough place. You know, it's a lot of. Some of the top people in the world are there, and it's a big pool of people, and it's hard to tell the right from the wrong and the real from the fake. So, living like that for me, not knowing the real or the fake, you know. And we worked with some really good people in that respect. That was fine. It was just a lot of the other side of it, and you never know who your real friends are. So I just said I wanted to go back, and that's what that song came from. Yeah.
Okay. And well, in terms of kind of writing music, and you mentioned the albums. Kind of in a sense, you want to evolve, but you also don't want to estrange yourselves from kind of your identity. So with True North, what was kind of the mentality as you started that whole writing process, and kind of what were those studio days like early on?
I mean, True North was written over a good period of time, because we write as well a lot on the road.
Okay.
And the album, sometimes finding a sense of what the album means. Joyland was about, it felt kind of carnival-y in a way. A lot of the songs, the rhythms of some of the songs, there was a lot more carnival feel, a lot of snarey movements and things like that, and also just being on the street, everything felt kind of that way for us. So Joyland was this idea of a circusy thing, and True North came about because True North is the right path for somebody that you're supposed to be on. And we've written it. We wrote an album nobody's ever heard, in between Joyland and True North.
Okay.
And we're very glad we didn't release it, because it's very different. It took a big turn, and when we came back to True North over time and working on the streets and things like that, we felt we understood now our path. And so that's the idea behind True North, and the song itself is about mental health and finding yourself and being okay with being yourself.
Because I wrote down one line that in particular kind of struck me, which is someone somewhere is just as lost. We're all finding our true north.
Yeah.
Which is first, where did that line come from? So to say, when did you come up with that line?
Well, while writing it, you're trying to envisage, the idea, and it's about knowing that you're not alone. People are, you know, whatever it is you're going through, people are going through something, and nobody really. I feel. I'm not saying this is fact, but I feel nobody really knows fully what's happening with themselves or where they're going. People can seem outwardly confident, but at the end of the day, everybody is trying to pretend like everything's okay all the time. And in the world of Instagram, where everybody is just showing each other the highlights of their life, and everyone's looking at other people's highlights and thinking, oh, they're living a great life and my life is not so great. It's that's the idea behind True North, is that look beyond that. That's not really what's going on. Everybody is trying to find their way, and yeah.
And well, we kind of touched upon it already, but as a band, do you feel now you have found your path, or you have found your?
We do feel that, yeah. And True North, the whole album was a big step towards finding our way, because the next album that we're going to release with Marshall Records is, I would say, exactly where we want to be right now.
Okay.
You know, sound-wise and direction-wise, very sort of organically orientated, but still a big sound from it as well. Because if we bring our street show to a big stage, it's big. You know, some people are surprised that it works so well, but
Yeah.
it's not a quiet show. You know,
Sure.
it's a lot of fun.
And we don't need backing tracks.
No.
Songs are written in a way that we don't need backing tracks, so that the show can change speed to suit the audience.
Well, that's an interesting point. So that means, or can I assume that it means that songs evolve over time as well? That you can kind of interpret them slightly differently over time.
Yeah, they do. Our songs change. We have a song called "This Is Heartbreak" that we have a version on Joyland, and we've played the song so many times with a different setup that the song has changed slightly and has become different in a way. So we re-recorded the song and with this different energy, and it's lovely. It's a different version, but it's again, it has evolved with us and our performances. So we decided, now we love the new version so much, record it again.
Okay. And Glover, you mentioned that the upcoming album. I don't know how far along you are, but what can you share about that album? In terms of, well, you mentioned kind of the musical feel, but how far along are you? Do you maybe have already an album title?
Yeah.
We are very happy to announce that it's done.
Okay.
You know, and we were lucky enough to be in Abbey Road Studios in London only a couple of weeks ago, to listen to the full finished mix and master album from start to finish, and it was a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that very interesting, because what is a moment like that like? Because you kind of listen to something you've toiled over for probably years. Can you listen to yourself objectively at that point?
Yeah, I mean, you can't be a good songwriter if you're not objective, I don't think, because that's how you become good. You analyze all the time, you analyze your work, other people's work, and hopefully you improve over time and you get there. It doesn't just happen. So hearing it in that environment is the best way to suddenly hear it somewhat objectively, because you're no longer hearing it at home, you're hearing it in a new space. You've had some distance from the time you put it together to hearing it. You're hearing it in order, which is the thing. I think it's an art that in itself matters, the order of the songs for the flow of the album. So yeah, it was nice. We're very happy with it. It very much fits what we want to do, and the title of it is Ordinary Superhero, it's called. And yeah, we're very excited for people to hear it.
And is this then the album that you're trying to push in Europe then as well, in a larger
Yeah, our brand new single is Somebody to Love. That's the first single from that album. And so from here on in, the music will be all from Ordinary Superhero.
Okay.
And yeah, that I suppose will be the first proper introduction to the European audience.
Finally then, in terms of venturing out in Europe, what do you see, or maybe you've already felt, has been the biggest challenge kind of venturing outward, and then what has been quite easy, or what has kind of...
I mean, this year has been pretty hectic because we were finishing the album and then straight on the road. So it was challenging. This whole thing was challenging, but baptism by fire.
Yeah.
You know, and so we, you know, having done it this way, we'll be more organised and better prepared, and both mentally and you know, physically, in terms of how we do things going forward. So it's great to do it this way. You know, means it can only get easier. So because this was still a lot of fun, and although it was all hectic to get it all done in time, it was still a lot of fun, and yeah, we're very excited about it.
It's only the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, one last question then. When will the album be a success? Or what, let's take it a little bit more broadly. What is your definition of success, in a sense, in these musical terms?
I mean,
Simple answer is growth.
growth. Yeah.
You know?
If we're playing bigger shows than we played before, you know, next time we come around, if the audiences are bigger, if more people are listening to us, you know, that's a success. The grade of success is relative. I mean, obviously, if it blew up, great, amazing. But as long as you're growing, then you're happy.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you very much
Thank
for
you
your
very
time.
much.
Thank you.